Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. Are you a goofball that loves Giants football? If so, sit back and relax. Except you, that person driving. Sit up and keep your eyes on the road. Your ears, though, can still listen as we talk about the team that both excites and frustrates us so much. And now, here are your goofball hosts, Drew and Rob.
Welcome, fellow goofballs, to Two Giant Goofballs, the New York Giants podcast. I am Drew, joined as always by...
Me, Ron. Let's get this show on the road.
Oh, yes, and let's get the show on the road here. And Rob's coming mobile for us today here. He's having a little home internet issues there, so if he looks like having a little different angle there and you see a little nostril hair or something there, it's a different perspective of Rob we get. And we also have a special guest for you guys here today. We have Tim here from the New York Giants Straight Talk. Tim, how's it going?
I'm doing good, guys. I hope Rob can generate a little bit of power or something to make sure his internet's running a little bit faster.
Let's get him going.
You're listening. I'll bring my package.
All right. So, folks, today we intended on initially doing a talk about the special teams of the New York Giants from the 2002 season as we finally complete our positional reviews. But then, of course, it's the owners' meetings this week here. And, of course, Daboll and Schoen had a chance to talk to all the different media members there and wanted to give you guys all the different nuggets from there, especially Joe Schoen. Joe Schoen's one of those guys, if you watch and listen very carefully, there's a lot of reading between the lines that man does. He doesn't tell you point blank what he's thinking. But if you listen to the keys of what he's saying, you'll figure it out. He's not the most open book, but it's cracked. It's cracked. We're not talking about LT crack. We're talking about regular crack, though, guys. So let's get right into it, of course. Very first, we always like to start with... It's time.
It's time for the news.
Yes, we start with the news, of course. And today, the biggest news, of course, is it's someone's birthday. Justin Tuck officially turns 40 years old today. Happy birthday, Justin. Thank you for making me feel old and young at the same exact time, because he's now the same age as me again. And it feels like forever since that man's played football, right? I mean, he retired a little youngish for a football player at 32. So, you know, think about it. If he was Tom Brady, you have 6 more years to go. I mean, that's just insane when you think about that for a second there.
Well, his play did go down exponentially when he went over to the Raiders. I mean,
well, whose doesn't?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if it was either in Oakland, Los Angeles, Anaheim,
who knows what city?
Vegas, wherever it was at that point in time. But he reached, as a Notre Dame guy, they always retire early.
Yes.
He knew when it was time to get out.
And he still holds the award for the best face mask ever in football, because that man had like the most intricate, I swear he designed them himself or something. He had like the most insane, like there was no spot to poke him in the face, that's for sure. Daniel Bellinger, take notice. We also had the news here, of course, that the NFL is also going to allow the number 0 to be a thing now again. So I think it's like last time was like, I think back in the 70s or so, back when they started doing that last time. We have a number 0 already. Agent 0 this year is going to be new wide receiver Paris Campbell. And I got to say, I posted this up on Facebook, and I can't believe people will be like, boom, 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 and everywhere. Like, I couldn't believe a number was that big of a deal, guys. It's a number.
It's not. Technically, it's not even a number.
Yes, that's true. Yes. They say 1 is the loneliest number that there ever be. I'm not sure what 0 counts as. But yeah, so like I said, he'll be Agent 0 for us. Darren Waller, they also announced to be number 12. And it makes me feel a little old-fashioned when I hear about this kind of stuff, because I just love the old days where it's like, even if we're playing some obscure team like the Houston Texans, I don't necessarily know every single player on their roster. I know, chastise me. I don't know every Houston Texan. But you could look at the player and go, okay, here's a big fatty and his number's in the 60s. He's a guard, probably. Here's a really skinny guy in the 80s. So he's probably going to be a wide receiver. Now you look at these guys, you have no clue by the number anymore. You have no clue. I don't know. I'm old fashioned, I guess. Get off my lawn. I don't know.
It's college. I mean, that's what it is. And not to have a shameless plug, I actually have a podcast called Get Off My Lawn, The Mad Ramblings of a Gen Xer.
There we go.
In case if you ever want to go. So that's how old I am.
I'm half Gen Xer. I'm what they call a Zennial. Zennial. It's kind of like we're in betweeners there. I was born in '82, so you can figure I grew up with the technology, but I grew up with it when I was already like, teenager and all that kind of stuff. I remember coming home.
Socks older than you.
Huh?
I have socks older than you.
Well, and then let me just tell you, sir, Kohl's is a wonderful place, as is Costco. You can get things on bulk even.
I don't even remember 82.
Well, nor do I, for that. I'm sure it's a lot of eating and pooping and sleeping. That's about all I did probably at that point. So. We also got the news today that Lawrence Cager is up on Twitter telling everybody that he is recruiting. No word on who he's recruiting. I'm kind of curious myself, but hasn't said that. He also said that he expects DJ to have an MVP-style year. So he went one further than you, Rob, who keeps saying he's going to be a Pro Bowler. So, but yeah, he's suggesting a MVP season for DJ. And as a Giant fan, I would love it. And as a realist, it's not going to happen, guys. It's probably not going to happen.
Here's the bigger question, though. When was the last Giant MVP? Not defensive, but when was the last?
Okay.
When was the last offensive Giant MVP?
See, I was going to go right to LT because I know he was.
Well, I know
MVP.
that's why
I knew the first part of your question. You changed it up on me. That's not fair, Tim.
Yeah, like us old guys. We're cagey.
Let's see. Last one here. Oh, we got to go. Is it Gifford? We have to go that far back?
Nope.
No, because he was probably more for the defense than anything else at that point.
It's in the same era.
Oh, we going Y.A. Tittle?
There you go.
There we go.
Giants have had 4 offensive MVPs. Y.A. Tittle twice and Charlie Conley twice.
We're going back now.
A little bit.
We're going to Mr. Peabody's Wayback Machine here for this one, guys.
I actually went to high school with Mr. Peabody. That's why.
Oh, did you? Okay. How about his boy Sherman? Was he there as well, or
no,
not born yet? Not born yet. Yeah. Wasn't sure how the dog ears thing worked out. So we also had news that there will be some joint practices this preseason, which I love. I don't know why I do, but I just love the idea of joint practices and getting a chance to get some actual hits and everything in. So week 1, we're going to be in Detroit. They haven't said it's going to be in Detroit yet, but it's pretty much known without being known that it's going to be in Detroit. And we're going to have a joint practice with the Lions, that's for sure. We're also going to do some joint practices with the Jets when we play them as well. No word if we'll be at their facility or our facility. Either way, it's in the same area, folks. So, it's a perfect time to get together with some Giant fans, some Jet fans, and if they happen to be open practices there. We also got a couple of former Giants that are now going to be coaches. St. Augustine's University has hired ex-Giant DB Howard Fagans as the head coach, and Eli Penny is now named the head coach at John Glenn High School in Norwalk, Connecticut. So 2 Giants now as new head coaches here. Hopefully they can rise up to the rankings. I love seeing Giants in the NFL as coaches. There's just something about that.
It's Elijah Penny. That's the former running back.
Yes.
I'm a Giant season ticket holder, and I'm always at the games. And I met his family, his second to last preseason game 2 years ago, and it was interesting. It was funny. I guess I could tell the story because it doesn't really matter. They had a little dog with them. I guess his mom, and it was like a little Yorkie. And I love it because the ushers came over, and she's like, "Wow, Elijah Penny, that's my son." And they were like, "Well, this dog. What's this dog?" They're like, "It's a service dog." And I'm looking at this dog, and it was literally like 6.5 pounds. And I love it because the usher goes, "Oh, okay." And then the son, I guess, or his cousin or someone turns around to the mom and goes, "That's a service dog?" I'm sitting there, and I'm trying not to laugh. And I'm looking, and all of a sudden I feel someone whack me on the back of the shoulder, and it's Elijah Penny's mom. And she goes, "Stop laughing." I'm like, well, I guess we're on that level now.
Yeah, we've been talking actually to Elijah for a little while there about coming on the show. We keep on having issues whenever he is available or we're not available, whatever the case may be. But if you're listening, man, we still do want you on the show, man. Definitely want to hear the stories of the locker room back in the day there. Now we also, of course, as always, guys, we do got a little bit of NFL news. Still, obviously, the brunt of the free agent frenzy is over, so not as much as usual, guys. So we can get ready and everything with Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll there. But beforehand, as we can see now, Rob has also gotten mobile as well. He's got mobile with his mobile. I don't know where he's going. He's all through his apartment here. Where are you going, Rob? Don't go to the bathroom, whatever you do.
Trying to get this in
So NFL news here. So the Josh Harris, Mitchell Rails group, which also includes Magic Johnson, and I also heard a rumor today that RG3 might get a little bit involved as well, have been fully financed for the bid for the $6 billion asking price for the Washington, whatever their name is this season. And yeah, it's going to be a great thing to get a new ownership group in that city, at least for the rest of the NFL. Not necessarily for us, because I love having a horrible run team in our division. It's the only team we can never beat in our division, it seems. So hopefully we can get our stuff together this season and break the streak we've had against the Eagles and the Cowboys there. Also, the owners have tabled the talk about creating a 4th and 20 instead of doing the onside kick like they're doing. So there was talks of doing the onside kick option as an option, where instead of doing this, we're going to go ahead and start on the 20 like you would on a touchback, and then go ahead and do the 4th and 20 entirely now, where you get the option of going ahead and going forward on 4th and 20. And if you lose, obviously you're going to get the ball back in very good position. But if you win, you get a chance to go ahead and score again. And the XFL, people have been loving that. So I think it's going to be kind of interesting. Oh, we got Rob is on a regular device now. Hold on. Let's make a little adjustments here. Boop-a-doop. Boop-a-doo. There we go. And there we go. Little musical chairs here. Musical chairs.
You do have a co-host.
Oh, I do. There he is.
I just thought it was like a space filler.
No. He hasn't
anything yet.
He hasn't moved yet. I'm not sure if he's actually there as the picture of Rob now. Are you there, Rob?
I can't say anything because during my live streams I screw with people like that. I just
I don't think we actually have him. I think he's just a picture now. All right, so
I'm going to be the new co-host now.
There you go. Come on board, Tim. So, also, Marvin Jones, wide receiver, signed with the Lions for a second go-around with Detroit. Joe Burrow and the Bengals have begun extension talks. So, folks, you think Daniel Jones got paid a lot? Just wait. That man's going to get paid. That's going to be like one of the largest contracts, if not the largest contract in NFL history when it's done. I'm telling you guys, watch. 49ers have also officially said that Brock Purdy will be their starter. Also, rumor is that the Falcons are planning on keeping Desmond Ridder as their starter, which is just to me insane.
Absolutely insane.
Oh, we got Rob's going back in on the phone here.
You gotta have headphones on, Mike.
Rob. There we go. You're muted until you got headphones in, man. You get the feedback. Alrighty, so we also have Calais Campbell signs with the Falcons. We were hoping to get him potentially. Obviously, there's a history there with him and Wink. But yeah, he's unfortunately now off the table for us for some D-line help. Also, Bengals did sign tight end Irv Smith Jr. as well. If he can ever stay healthy, that is a guy who is a good pickup for them as they try to replace Hayden Hurst, who, of course, got signed by the Carolina Panthers this offseason as well. So they're reloaded back up at that position there. And we lost Rob again. He's back and he's gone. This guy is he's like a bad ex-girlfriend that won't go away here. What's going on, Rob? You there?
I'm back.
Now you're Tim now. Now you're Tim. Tim's been upgraded to Rob. Hold on. Let's get you guys straightened out here. Okay, there we go. Now we're back around here. This is like musical chairs here with you two. I swear, it's like...
Except in my face. Wi-Fi stinks.
Alrighty. So we got Big Blue Forever chiming in with Tim.
What's up, my friend?
So yeah, let's get into the owners' meetings and all the talks there, because the big thing everybody keeps talking about is the fact that John Mara keeps talking about OBJ and blah blah blah. And listen, again, I told you guys this in the last episode, and for those of you guys who listened to Tim's broadcast as well, he talked about the similar thing as well. It's not going to happen, guys. We're not getting OBJ unless all of a sudden he comes down to like the cheapest contract because nobody wants him and he's willing to do like a 1-year prove-it deal. It's not going to happen. John Mara is telling you guys what he thinks you want to hear because he wants to be the cool owner. He wants to be the owner people like. That's all it is right now. And poor Joe Schoen and Brian Daboll have to deal with the BS in the meantime. Meanwhile, they'd rather keep it cool, keep it quiet, and see if he happens to fall in their lap. That's what he's hoping for. And Unfortunately, now there's the hype. But let's go into Joe Schoen, what he said there. So the first thing he was asked about was the Darren Waller move, which I think we were all kind of interested in how that went down, because that was kind of a surprise move there. We almost got an obscure view of Rob there somehow. That's how you get listeners, Rob. You notice I said listeners, not watchers. So yeah, he said he's known Ziegler, the GM for the Raiders, for quite a while, had conversation with him at the Senior Bowl. So it's interesting because he said, I had conversations with him at the Senior Bowl and then talked to him again at the Combine. I've heard a lot of people reporting that they've been talking about this trade now since the Senior Bowl when he said that. But again, if you listen to the words he said, I've known Ziegler for a while. We talked at the Senior Bowl. Then we talked at the Combine. He never said we talked about Darren Waller at the Senior Bowl. So I think that is possible, but I don't want to report that as being the case there. Either way, around the Combine, he did say that they talked about players available, that kind of stuff, and Waller came up, and obviously they got the deal done. They did also say they consulted the training staff beforehand to see what they thought about it. He also bragged about their reduction in soft tissue injuries, which, Tim, is it crazy to me that he didn't mention the knee injuries at all?
I think it's just something, you just kind of forget. I mean, we want to talk about that. They also didn't mention the fact that there was innuendos in Vegas that there was a player on the team that the Carr and some other players felt that he was dogging it, and he could have potentially came back from his injury, and he was not the best teammate in the locker room. And of course, after the trade comes out, everyone says, "Well, that's Mr. Waller."
Yeah.
I was like, "Well, that's you got a guy going on the wrong side of 30, coming off 2 injury-plagued seasons, who's now being told that potentially he could have been a locker room issue." I mean, what's not to love for a 3rd-round pick? I mean,
yeah.
At
and honestly, I don't.
Guaranteed.
I keep on looking at it, going, you know what? I never heard anything until Josh McDaniels got there, as far as him being an issue in the locker room or anywhere else. As what's going on there, Rob? We had a video there. Rob had like I don't know if there's like bukkake going on there or what's going on there. We lost Rob for a second. That was pixelated more than anything else. Like we're watching an illegal channel or something here. I don't know. But yeah, so. But yeah, like I said, I think it's interesting because. For those who watch us on a regular basis know that I am probably the least of a fan there ever is of Josh McDaniels. I think he's a horrible coach. I think he's a horrible individual. And I think he's somebody that should be nowhere near an NFL team. And they didn't use Darren Waller right from what I watched of the games there. And I watched a lot of tape of the last season to see where he was, see how much the injuries really affected him. I don't think they really used him right like he's been used in the past. And I think there's definitely issues there because all accounts, he wasn't even invited to the wedding for Waller either. They made a joke about it, but from what I hear, that's legit. He was not invited to the wedding. You typically invite your boss to the wedding. You typically may not hope he shows up.
I could tell you this. I could tell you this from experience, and I could tell you this from being an old school Giant fan and being around the stadium. Going back to when they actually built MetLife, I was at the very first game against the Cowboys. I can tell you right now, Parcells didn't go to any players' weddings.
Yeah.
Tom Coughlin, didn't really go to any players' weddings. I mean, it's not, and I've done work in the league, and I can tell you, it's not out of the ordinary for for a head coach not to go to a player. I mean, unless you're talking about Joe Burrows, or
Tom Brady
or something like that. Yes, you would probably be your head coach. But you have 53 men on the roster. You got another 12 or so on the practice squad. Head coaches are head coach. I think honestly, it's just a smokescreen. I think it's BS. I didn't like McDaniel when he was over in Denver. I don't like what he did to the Colts. I think he is a great offensive coordinator, but I think he's going to be the Joe Bugle of coaches. And Joe Bugle was a wonderful offensive coordinator, a wonderful offensive line coach, but he can never find his way as a head coach.
Mm-hmm.
I think that all that stuff, it was started by Waller's wife. And honestly, when I it's true, she came out and said,
"Oh, I know it."
And I laughed though, because the fact when I hear things like that, I think of Eli Apple's mom.
Oh God,
who just always would deflect.
Let's not think of Annie Apple.
I'm not standing up for Josh McDaniel, but I don't think Josh McDaniels cares that he did not go to Darren Waller's wedding. And I think more likely this is just the fact that his wife is pissed that she plays basketball in Vegas, that he got traded across the country. And I think she's more upset about that. And I just kind of hope that she doesn't have that, like I said, Mama Apple vibe.
So you don't think it's a big deal he wasn't even invited, though? That's my thing. Whether he went or not is one thing, but not to be invited, that to me seems a little weird.
You know what? I'm gonna tell you right now, for being in NFL locker rooms, for being in college locker room, they don't care. Head coaches don't care. Unless it's a superstar player. You got a guy that was a Pro Bowler, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. He hasn't been that. And he had the whole issue with, you had Gruden there first, and then you had everything else. So, I mean, it's not like, it's not like you had Tom Brady tell Bill Belichick, go pound sand. You're not coming to my wedding. And honestly, I don't even know if Belichick went.
Oh my God. Could you imagine Belichick at a wedding first off? Like, you really want that kind of grump at your wedding? Like, that's the guy that, like,
I bet he kills dance for it.
Like, I could only imagine him trying to congratulate the couple. Yeah, congratulations. Happy life.
Yeah.
We got a question there for you, Tim, too, from Giants. Giant Among Men said, Tim, what should the Giants do with Barkley?
What's funny about the Barkley thing? It's funny because I have a video about this coming out, but I'll just get into it anyways. I'm leery about Barkley, not because of the fact that the Giants don't want to sign him, because I don't think they want to sign him. I really don't. I think in some regards, the Daniel Jones contract screwed Saquon Barkley. And in my mind, in my opinion, Saquon Barkley was the engine that revved the Giants. It wasn't Daniel Jones. And I have this feeling that they were looking for a way to get out the Giants and kind of saving face. And then when Barkley turned down that $12 million, and then the running back market kind of fell apart, it was the perfect storm. You could have him for one more year. You keep him on his $10 million guaranteed salary, and then you can move on from him next season. And if it turns out that Daniel Jones wasn't using Barkley as a crutch last year, which I think he was, you could then get rid of him the following year, and you could basically save face by saying, hey, listen, you know what? We tried to pay him. He's going downhill on his career now. He's going to be in the league for 7 years and kind of move on from there. I think in some regards they did Saquon a little dirty, and I'm not upset. I really don't care what people think if I say that, because of the fact that it is a business, and you can find a running back later in the rounds. Everyone knows what happened with the Ezekiel Elliott contract. So, you can find someone in the 3rd, 4th, 5th round and not have to pay them that all-star money. But the problem is, from the Giants' perspective, he could potentially be the reason Daniel Jones's great season, 3,000 yards, 15 touchdowns, 7 rushing. I've been watching this game since '76, and I've never seen a quarterback who had a 3,000-yard season, 15 touchdowns passing and 7 rushing, and people extol the virtues of him like he is Johnny Unitas, Joe Montana, Dan Marino, all rolled up in one. I've never seen this before. I've talked about this a million times in my show. I've never seen it before. And it seems that the bulk of the offense that ran through Barkley was kind of an afterthought. If you take, everyone always points out at Daniel Jones's 5 game-winning drives, how wonderful they were. And then you break down the stats, and there was drives, I believe he was like 3 for 4 for 11 yards. And the rest of the yards either came from him or Saquon Barkley running the ball. And I don't think Daniel Jones is going to have that type of success running next season, because in this league, you figure shit out.
There's tape now.
You go back. Everyone thought the 46 zone was going to be unbeatable. Everyone thought the run and shoot was going to be unstoppable. Everyone thought the red gun wasn't going to do this. Everyone thought the West Coast offense was going to be destroying things. Everyone thought the Wildcat was the next best thing. No, you get film, coordinators figure it out, and you move on. And I'm scared that that's what's going to happen with Daniel Jones. Listen, I said this a million times. You go to the Texans game, you go to the Bear game. Roll out, play action roll out, one option, which was usually the tight end. If the tight end wasn't available, Daniel Jones ran. They ran that play at one point 3 times in a row in the Bears game, because I'm at every home game. 3 times in a row. And I laugh because it was in the second half of both of those games that these were bad teams, that they figured it out.
Yep.
It stymied the Giants' offense. People want to hype all this praise on Kafka. people seem to forget in week 11, 12, 13, there was talk about having Brian Daboll call the plays and not just have, it was all Kafka's fault. Winning cures a lot of ills. And the problem is, if you take Saquon Barkley out of this equation, I am concerned that those ills are going to come back, and they're going to come back in force. And you paid a guy on average $32 million the next 2 years, but 40 in total, per season. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be different. I think Saquon Barkley is getting kind of the raw deal on this, but I think it's the Giants' way to save face, get out from underneath that contract, and not have to worry about paying him the big bucks, and not have to worry about giving him a 3-year deal and hamstringing the team. And hopefully they maybe look for his replacement in this draft, probably later, 3rd, 4th, 5th round.
Yeah, and I'm with you in a lot of what you're saying, especially on DJ there. But I mean, with Barkley specifically, I think they're doing 100% the right thing. Give him the tag him the next year as well on top of that, and have a plan to replace him after next season. Because, as you said, running backs have a shelf life. You don't pay them big money because it comes back to bite you in every scenario. The only people that people talk about is, oh my God, this contract worked out. Right now is Nick Chubb. That's it. I mean, Christian McCaffrey, they go, oh, look, he helped in San Francisco. He helped in San Francisco after they traded him out of Carolina because they wanted rid of that contract. You got Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry was somebody they're now looking to trade out of Tennessee because they realized you can only get so far by building around a running back. I know a lot of us grew up in a generation where that was what you built around, a good defense and a good run game. I
always look at running backs that are comparable. And I always, going back into the early 2000s, I always think of Sean Alexander. And he is the type of running back that I would equate to Saquon Barkley. Alexander had this big year. It was back in 2005, 1,880 yards rushing, 27 touchdowns. He got this huge freaking contract, fell off the planet at 29.
Oh, yeah.
And I think the Giants and Seattle took a while to recover from that deal. And I think that's what the Giants are just trying to avoid. Like I said, I understand it. I understand it's a business decision. I understand it completely. I don't think they're going to tag him on that second year. I think they'll just let him walk. But like I said, at the end of the day, we have to hope and pray that it's not that Daniel Jones can succeed without the safety net of Saquon Barkley.
Yes. Let's play a little musical chairs. We lost Rob there for a second again. Oh, around and around we go. So, yeah, I mean, Deb so he does a laugh and says he was a crutch for what else was there. And that's part of what I think keeps happening is I feel like there's a lot of people that make excuses for Daniel Jones. And eventually, guys, the excuses are going to run out. It was he doesn't have a good line. Well, now he has one of the best left tackles, if not the best left tackle on all of football. Is there some issues everywhere else? You can make that case, but how is Joe Burrow doing with not a great line? He's been doing okay. He's got offensive weapons, though. Well, now Daniel Jones has some offensive weapons. You can say he doesn't have a number one receiver. That's what I keep hearing. If Waller is healthy, he is a number one receiver. Point blank. May not play the receiver position, but if you can get a guy that can do over 1,000 yards a season, that is a number one. And then you have like 3 or 4 number 2s or 3s there. It's a good wide receiver room, assuming everybody stays healthy. Which I know is assuming a ton.
Tom Brady's first 2 Super Bowls, who were his wide receivers?
Yeah, nobody. Like Troy Brown.
Yeah, I mean, you have David Patton.
Yeah.
I mean, a good
Giant fans remember him.
A good quarterback makes his wide receivers better. Eli Manning. Look at Eli Manning's career. And I always tell people, name me one wide receiver that left the Giants during Eli Manning's tenure that went on somewhere else and succeeded.
Oh, yeah. You can't.
Can't. Ruben Randall. I mean,
he was out of the league.
He's out of the league. He was
out of the league.
You got
had 3 good years with us out of the league.
Steve Smith. I mean, you got Shockey's the only one that had somewhat success, but his success was because of more of Sean Payton, I believe, and playing with Drew Brees.
I was going to say, we went from Eli to Drew Brees. Not a bad transition. Yeah. It's not very often you leave Eli and go to a better quarterback. Even though I know Giant fans will hate me saying that, but.
I hate Skip Bayless, but Skip Bayless said it best. If all you do is complain about your lack of weapons and your lack of your offensive line, then you don't have a quarterback.
Yeah, no, Alex, I'm with that. I think he's the best option we have for now. But I do think that after year 2, if he can't show he's the guy, they're going to look to replace him. They're going to give him 2 years to prove he can do it. They might even do one. Who knows? They might even draft a guy next offseason if all of a sudden he shows he can't do it. We got Connor Wallace. Negative Timmy in the house. Daniel Jones will be even better with tougher blockers and receivers we got, and we'll make Jones' deal look even better. So, but Connor, this is the whole point that he's making, and I'm agreeing with him. Is you're saying basically he needs everything right around him to succeed. Is that a franchise quarterback, folks? Is that a guy that you go, this is who I should build my team around? Or instead, are you building the team hoping he won't bring you down in the process? Because that's what it sounds like when you say he needs a great offensive line, he needs great receivers, need. That's saying he needs a lot of help, guys. He says Skip Bayless is a moron, half-ass Cowboy fan. Listen, I think we'll all agree on that in this panel. Oh, yeah. Skip Bayless is an absolute moron. I think even Shannon Sharp thinks that, to be honest. So he's kind of said it as much on the show a couple of times even. So anyway, back to Waller. There's a couple of things there. Like I said, he called Waller just an offensive weapon, which gets back to what I was saying before. Waller will be the number one receiver, folks. I'm telling you right now, at pick 25, we are not going to go ahead and get a top flight receiver unless we trade down, which we have too many holes for that to be a really good idea to do, unless you're that sure on who you're trading down for. He also called me a blue player, which I thought was kind of interesting. So he gave a little insight into the Giants' jargon here. I love jargon in businesses. So basically he explained afterwards, because you realize what he said, that that's internal jargon for their rating, which means he's a Pro Bowl caliber player. That's a blue. I want to hear the whole scale. I feel like there's a whole thing here, like there, and there's got to be that. I want to hear the whole scale, like so we can have these conversations like that. Oh, he's a blue player. Oh, he's a purple player. He's a fuchsia player. Like I want the colors. How many colors are there? What's it on a scale of 1 to 10, and 10 is blue? Like 9 is red? Like what's going on here, folks? So hopefully we get some more insight on that, because I thought that's kind of fun. Let's see. We have Jay Emanuel with Shane building this team for Hendon Hooker. Listen.
Big J.
I'm telling you right now, if he slides, and I don't think he will, because I think somebody's going to pick him up. I really do. But if he slides, he's not a bad option as insurance for Daniel Jones. Because one thing people forget all the time, and Joe Shane did mention it briefly in the conversation about injuries, this was the first time that Daniel Jones has ever been healthy for a year. You need a good backup with him. So worst comes to worst.
I'm telling you, I've been talking about Hendon Hooker since the beginning of the college season, and I did a whole big video about him against the Florida game when he played against Richardson. Mm-hmm. And I was on the fence about both of them, and I know Hooker's got a little bit of a checkered career in reference to going to one school, coming over to Tennessee, and everything else. But he is matured and maturated over the last 2 years, that he's become not only a dual threat, but his ability to pass in the pocket has exponentially improved. His ability to read defenses are there, and he has a natural feel for the game. The ACL, I mean, he had one bad game before the ACL. But my thing about Hooker is this: it takes a year to come back from an ACL completely.
Yep. And
the issue is you don't start that clock until the day of the surgery. A lot of people start the clock the day he got hurt. I've had two ACL surgeries, one repair, one replacement, where they took my patella tendon. That you do not start the clock until he has that surgery, because you need to wait for the swelling to go down.
Exactly.
They are saying that he will be ready for the start of the season. Does that mean he is ready in reference to he has been practicing all the time through training camp and will go into the season? Or does that mean that he will be healthy enough to resume football activity once the season starts? If I think if the Giants are smart, I've said this before, I trade out of 25. I get the extra pick in the second round, probably pick up a fourth and a fifth. I'm saving my cap space because of the rule of 51 right now. We are $4 million plus. Without we hit the rule, we hit 53 when camp breaks after the rule of 51. We're negative $9 million. Mm-hmm. We save that first round money that's allotted, move it into the second round. Yes, you lose you lose this 50-year option, but you can pick up 2 quality players. And if you could find someone like, I do think Hooker's going to fall. If I can get Hooker in the second round and then a wide receiver or a corner, and I'm paying them second round money, I mean, you might have something there. And even if Hooker's not ready, to your point, Jones can play out the season, see what happens, and see where you go in 2024.
Yeah, I mean, he's going to play at least 2 years with us. We all know that, just based on the way the contract is structured. But if you have a chance to give Hooker a chance to, get a little healthy the first year, get back into the swing of things the second year, and if it's not working with Jones, you got still 2 cheap years with him. So it's not the worst plan, but I mean, I'm like I said, I'm so torn on him because of the fact that you got the 4 years, you're giving up 2 of the years right off the bat at that point. But I do think he's going to be a good talent in the league. And I'll say this, if it wasn't for the ACL injury, he's a first-round quarterback. I don't think he's, up there with, the CJ Strouds and all that in the very beginning of the first round, but he's probably a mid to late first-round pick, I think. But because of the injury, he'll probably be anywhere from the mid-second, early third at the worst-case scenario, depending on how far he drops. But yeah, like I said, it's an interesting option, and it's definitely something I think they should look at because you got to hedge your bets. You got a very expensive quarterback that has not shown it yet. You got to have another option. He also did talk about the center position here, as we got King Chris TV here talking. Says Osiris Torrance first round, John MS, of course, the center out of Minnesota, the second round, and he said that he's comfortable with Ben Bredesen. Joe Shane said at center, which I thought was total GM hogwash BS talk. Because if you're comfortable with Ben Bredesen, you are not the right guy for the job. I'm sorry. There's no way in hell he's actually comfortable with a guy who's basically never played center, being the only center option we have. You want to talk about Shane Lemieux? Everybody's, Shane Lemieux's a backup center. Shane Lemieux can't stay healthy.
Yeah, no.
Shane Lemieux can't stay on the field. He plays one game, gets re-injured. Yeah, sure, if you need him for a couple of snaps, maybe, as long as you kept him in a bubble wrap for the prior 3 months, sure. He's not a healthy player. He's not a good player. People also forget that. The entire first year, when he was a rookie, he was one of the worst pass-blocking offensive linemen in the entire league. For some reason, Giant fans think he's going to be all of a sudden really good again. I don't get that part. Rob, we see you double. I see you back in the... Do you got your internet up? We can actually have you up there?
Yeah.
Okay, let's get you up there here. Okay, there we go. Now he's... Because listen... Giants Among Men also said, does Rob talk? So, Rob, you got to talk now. We got to hear you. We got to hear that beautiful voice.
I've been having little internet problems.
We got to hear that. We got to hear that beautiful voice. Let's hear it, Rob.
Not your plunger, or you're just happy to see me. Oh,
all right. Possibly.
All right. So, what do you think, Rob, on the center? Do you think that's a good option to look at, Ben Bredesen? He doesn't talk. Rob does not talk. He's just there.
Rob does talk.
I can't hear.
You're like the show eye candy right now, Rob. Like you're just here to get the women folk in, and you didn't even shave for the event. Come on. Let me know when you're back up. Just give a thumbs up when you're fully back up, Rob. But yeah, let's see here. We got King Chris TV with yes, Shane is garbage. We got Giants Amongst Men. Who does Tim want to take in the draft? Take it away, Tim. Who you got?
Well, you have to go watch my show.
Oh, look at that. I love it. I love it.
I got to get it a show. It really 25 is a weird pick. You are basically 7 picks away from the bottom half of the draft. Bottom half of the first round going into the second round. It's the Giants still need an outside linebacker. They need a true defensive end that understands the nuances of holding their containment and having the ability to play the run and push it into the inside to Leonard Williams and Dexter Lawrence. You still need a CB2. I know we picked up the kid from Detroit, but when you have a press cover corner who everyone in the league says is a good press cover corner, it just doesn't have any speed. It's not a good way to play defense. You still need 2 guards. There's so much you can go with, and I always hate to say it because even Shane talked about it. It's best player. It may just be best player available for the Giants. And do you take a guard at 25? Maybe you do take the kid out of Florida. Yeah. Do you go corner? You could possibly do that. I still like Hyatt out of Tennessee, the wide receiver. I think he's going to fall down to
You're
the
a Tennessee guy, aren't you? You're just a Tennessee guy. I can tell.
It's funny. I'm not a Tennessee guy. I'm not, but I watched so much of Hendon Hooker that I kind of became that. And everyone that doesn't know, I am Rob.
You are Rob now. I don't know.
I did shave really briefly, and I do talk. But There's so many needs.
As he says, as Connor Wallace says, Tom is Rob again. It's Tim, not Tom. Can't you tell by his large letters you just complained about a minute ago? First off, I gotta say, I made the large letters, Connor. That's on me. He's not compensating for anything. He just got a very short name, and I wanted people that watch our program and not necessarily his to see his name, know where they can find his stuff, because he does good stuff.
But long story short, I mean, I think you are going to go best player available because there are so many holes still on this team. And I think Shane is. I hated Dave Gettleman. I hated the Joe Judge signing. The day they signed him, and I did a video that had a BS meter on it because everything Joe Judge said in that press conference was just full of crap because of the fact that he does a lot of talking, he doesn't do a lot of proving. So, but since the moment they hired Shane, the moment they hired Daboll, I've always said I'm putting my trust and faith in them. I do think they're probably going to stick either offensive line or wide receiver in the latter half of the first round. And like I said, I think potentially going into the second round, I do think they're going to go corner because of the fact I think Wink is sitting there saying, hey, listen, guys, this is great, but I got Adoree Jackson and a guy who may be Madre Harper and, Isaac Yiadom on the other side combined. So, I mean, yeah. I think it's a bad way to play when, like I said, when your CB2, his worst trait is he has no speed and has no makeup speed and it doesn't have any fluidity in the hips. And if he doesn't get that initial press, the guys are going to go by him real quick.
Oh yeah. All right, we're going to play musical chairs again here. Round and around we go. Here we go. There we go. And everybody's in the right spot again. I'm telling you, I don't know if Rob just doesn't want to be Rob anymore or Tim wants to be Rob or what's going on here. It's like, but keep you on your toes. Here's what I love about the draft when you're drafting at 25. And I love how people always seem to want to forget this part of it. Because people go, oh, we have to draft this person at 25. We have to draft that person at 25. You don't know who's going to be there, guys. It's the 25th pick. For all you know, there's a run on corners, and there's no corner worth taking. For all you know, there's a run on receivers. There's no receiver worth taking. You take the best player available. That's what you do. So I'm just going to caution that to everybody real quick because I keep hearing that from a lot of Giants fans. Oh, we have to get Jordan Addison. Oh, we have to go ahead and get a corner. Oh, we have to go ahead and get the center because it's that desperate of a position. Guys, you get who's available, who's the best player on your board. That's what you do. You don't reach. You don't stretch for the guy that you think is going to be because he's the position you need. You go and trust your scouts. You get the best player available, whoever that happens to be on the board. You know it's going to be at least one of your top 25. That's all you know. That's all you know. So yeah, Connor says agree with Tim Tom. It's Tim Tom now. But Gettleman was the least funny. Listen, Gettleman ruined the term hog molly for me. I used to like that term before him. Jay Emanuel, gonna need a talented corner to go against the Eagles offense twice a year. And yeah, listen, we need a corner. We need a corner. The nice thing is, if you guys look at the corners and go back to our corner episode we did where we went against, I can do the plug too, Tim. So where we went ahead and talked about our corners and also the corners coming out in the free agency and draft. There's a ton of press corners this year. This is a press corner draft, guys. You're going to be able to get somebody, not if you can't get them in the first round, you're going to find somebody in the second or third round even that's got potential starter kind of abilities that you wouldn't necessarily go ahead and have as a starter because you don't know the system necessarily as a fit necessarily for them there. But we have a system fit for who's coming out in this draft. We have that ability. So, like I said, I think corner, yes, it's a need, but guys, we don't need to rush to go get a corner because there's a ton of press ones. Ton of them. So, all right. So let's see here. So we got from King Chris TV, would you guys be fine with trading Saquon during the draft for a couple of picks? I don't see him playing on the tag. He's not going anywhere, Chris. He's not going anywhere. He's playing on the tag. Let's get right into that part there because Joe Shane talked about that as well. So he said here first, he's confirmed there is no standing offer on the table for Saquon Barkley, which we've already talked about that in the last couple of days. Basically, with the second that franchise tag went on him, they said, done. I mean, let's be honest, guys. They were talking about him, I think, more because they weren't quite sure what to do with DJ. I don't think they really wanted to give DJ the big deal, but they wanted to give one of them a deal so they can tag the other and keep them. So I think that's what it just boiled down to, is he was the guy who happened to sign, and Saquon didn't want to sign. So now Saquon, much like Julian Love, took bad advice from an agent and lost out on money. You're a running back. Take the money when they give you the money. Take the money
and run.
Exactly. Woo, 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 woo. But yeah, so like I said, he confirmed there's no there. He's also said, though, that this offseason's market does not affect his evaluation of Saquon's value, which I find hard to believe. Again, I'm calling BS in that one. My BS meter was so high in that thing, it's not even funny. You're telling me you're seeing guys, no one's signing for over $10 million a year, and you're going to say you want to pay him still $12, $13 million? No, you're not. You're not doing it.
Yeah.
And if you do, that's a boo-boo. That's a mistake. Like, you messed up. Because nobody's going to pay that. I guarantee if he wasn't franchise tagged, he was just a free agent, I don't think anybody's paying him that kind of money. Unless the Chicago Bears want to go crazy. They don't want to might because they got all the money in the world to spend on whoever they want. They don't care. It's like Mr. Moneybags over there in Chicago, and those guys still have like $30-40 million to spend on the cap. It's insanity. But no one's going to pay this guy that kind of money. We dodged a bullet by not paying him. Tag him for the 2 years, and then say sayonara if he doesn't want to take the lower value deal. So, is that Billy D behind Tim? I do think is that above your hat there? I think it is.
Oh yeah, I have a couple Billy D's. Yeah, that is Orlando Calrissian Billy D. I have I have the Billy D. Williams Colt 45 bobblehead doll, but you guys can't see it somewhere back there.
Oh yes.
Well, that was a good question.
As King Chris TV, he's worth at least $14 million. He's not. Sorry, Chris, he's not. No running back is worth that money anymore, unless he's taking it on a 1-year deal. That's the only time I'm giving that kind of money to running back. And with a franchise tag, you don't have to. So let's see. They also talked about Odell Beckham. And again, I don't want to talk too much on OBJ because of the fact that we've talked about it before. Everybody talks about OBJ nonstop as he comes back. He's not even OBJ anymore. He's more like OB. Like, he's lost something, guys. He's not the same player. We have to deal with that. But he didn't give us much on that OBJ front. He did say that weirdly enough, after that, he said that the Giants may have to get creative with the cap, even though they prefer not to. And it was weird he said it right after that. I did think that was a little odd, as if, and I think they're leaving the door slightly open. Where if all of a sudden the market falls through and he takes a smaller deal, I know Tim's shaking his head, he disagrees. I don't think they're going to pay him like $10, $12, $13, $15 million. But I think if he takes a 1-year, $5 million prove-it deal, I do think that's a possibility the Giants would take that.
Here, let me tell you,
he won't take that.
He's not going to take that. And let me tell
I
you,
hope he doesn't.
His creativity with the cap is going to be scary because of the fact that everyone that ever follows my channel for the last 3 years knows I'm a little bit of a capologist. And I predicted the Giants.
7 years of cap school.
I predicted the Giants fall the last couple of years, and I've been off maybe 100,000 here and there with my cap numbers. And right now, it's the Giants with the rule of 51. And those that do not know, the rule of 51 basically means you only count the top 51 contracts goes against right now your salary cap during the league year. And then what happens at the end of training camp, the rule of 51 goes away. Then all 53 contracts are then counted. So right now with the rule of 51, the Giants are sitting there with about $3 million in cap space. Without the rule of 51, we're negative $9 million. So there is going to be a lot of and this is without even our rookie draft pool. Our rookie draft pool is about 10.8. Right now, with the rule of 51, we only need to worry about $4 to $5 million of that, because that's the guaranteed money for your first, second, and third round picks. But once again, once the rule of 51 expires at the end of training camp, all those contracts, if they are on the books, then go into the cap. Mm-hmm. So right now, you only have 3 viable contracts on the top of your cap that you can work with, and one of them is Leonard Williams. And basically, Shane has come out and said he's going to let it ride with Leonard, and he's going to get rid of him next year. The other one's Adoree Jackson. So you're not going to restructure Adoree Jackson's deal to create more cap space. Shane is already pissed from last year where he had to give Leonard Williams a dead cap number of $5 million in 2024 just so he could have operational cap space in 2022.
Yep.
And he's already talked about the fact that he wants at least $10 million in cap space. Everyone always wants to bring these guys in from the practice squad, but you need to remember that once you do that, Once you bring these guys in, their salaries automatically become veteran minimum. So why it may only be for one game, you still have to count that against the cap. So right now, the cap that we're looking at right now for the Giants is better than last year, but it's not good. It's still not good yet. It won't be good till 2024. But the problem is, you still have you have the Dexter Lawrence contract.
Mm-hmm.
You also have the Andrew Thomas contract. You're going to have the second year at $40 million for Daniel Jones, which is something like 18.6% of the cap. So he needs to. I always joke that the cap to Joe Shane's like a baby, and he's protecting his baby, and he gets upset when he's got, the baby has to go to the doctor, such as giving Leonard Williams $5 million in the dead cap number. As much as we want to bring in OBJ, even at $5 million, the number's not there because there's not enough negotiable contracts that you can use on this team right now. And then you have players like Feliciano, whose cap number is 8, and his dead cap number is 8. So you're not going to move it. You're not moving on from him. You're not going to restructure Dexter Lawrence right now. And even if you did restructure, you're going to have to sign him to an extension, not a restructure. That's not going to count till next year. Mm-hmm. The cap is what it is right now, and giving Daniel Jones that number, giving him that bump, and even though it's only about a $28 million cap hit, it's still not in a good spot for this team because you still have those albatrosses of the contracts. And even going back to Kenny G, you're going to do a post June 1st, but you still have that.
Oh, that Kenny G. I had a song in my head all of a sudden.
Anyone watching understands the fact that I have the sound effect. It's the smooth sounds of Kenny G.
Oh, listen, first off, we would be better off with that Kenny G. You probably would have scored more touchdowns, okay? Listen, he would have distracted the corners with his jazz flute or whatever that thing is he plays.
The other Kenny G ever did, so on and off the field. But I mean, it's just not there. And even at $5 million, a wide receiver, 2 ACLs in 3 years, hasn't had a productive season in almost 4 years. I said this before. I am a huge OBG fan. I have the picture of the cat, autographed picture of the Cats behind me. But I'm an Odell Beckham fan from 5 years ago. Mm-hmm. Not what he is right now.
Yeah. And what I think is interesting is just that. Like, even when we got here with Jay Emanuel, said, no offense, Jay, but I'm going to call you on this one here. He says, we'd be better for them to get a wide receiver through the draft. The league is getting younger. And I agree with you on that part, but you said, and OBJ revived his career with the already built team. He didn't revive his career. He had a couple of good games in the postseason, don't get me wrong. The guy had 300 yards in 8 games with the Rams.
Yeah, he was the red zone guy.
And he was not, and again, like you said, Rob, he was the red zone guy. He was not the number one. That was Cooper Kupp. Yeah, so he was playing against the second best corners that the teams had and got 300 yards, guys. And then he tears his ACL again. So I'm not so sure. And like I said, I'm willing to take the risk on him on a very low deal. But I don't think he's going to take a very low deal. And I don't think the Giants are to take enough time to let it happen either. But like I said, we'll see. It's just weird it keeps sticking around. But like I said, I don't think it's going to happen. I've gone on record, and Rob's the same boat. We don't want it to happen just because of OBJ's personality. But yeah, we'll see what happens there. Jay Emanuel, if everyone says the turf at MetLife is bad when people bring up an injury-prone player, listen, it is bad. They got new turf coming in this year, so hopefully it's better because everybody says it's going to be better. I know Julian Love, who was the player union rep for the Giants last year, had saying some very good things about it after talking about the prior turf issues there. Grant Anderson, this DJ contract extension has Mara's name written all over it. I think Joe Shane secretly didn't want DJ, but Mara took it in his own hands. Listen, I'm telling you right now, if Joe Shane didn't want to do it, he wouldn't have done it. And what I mean by that is he wouldn't have taken the job to begin with if he didn't have the autonomy to decide on the most important position on a football team. I'm telling you guys that right now. He's not an idiot. Joe Shane realizes that in this league, you mess up royally one time, you're probably not getting a second shot. Unless you're Josh McDaniels. I had to throw that in there. I hate that schmuck. I can't help it. But like I said, I don't think he's doing it without him. And listen, if it was John Mara forcing Daniel Jones on this new regime, Guys, they would have picked up his 5th-year option.
Yeah.
They would have just picked up the 5th-year option.
Would have been a lot cheaper.
That just shows that Schoen had the autonomy to do what he felt was best for the team. Because that would have been the cheaper option, first off. Been the better option.
The only problem with Schoen and picking and giving Jones the contract, and I've talked about this before, in this league, they always say you win with your guys. You win with the guys you draft. You win with your guys. Daniel Jones was not Joe Schoen's guy. Basically, when he gave him this contract, he is saying Daniel Jones is my guy. If Daniel Jones flames out, I'm going to tell you this right now. Joe Schoen will be fired.
Oh, yeah.
He is not going to be allowed to pick a quarterback because technically giving him this contract, he picked his quarterback.
He picked his quarterback. I'm with you 100%. Let's see here. So we got King Chris TV says basically we need to hit on a majority of these draft picks, if not all. Listen, I'll be just happy if the draft picks even play after last year. I'll be happy if half the draft picks don't tear an ACL. Seriously, we're getting like two draft classes in one basically because they don't have to play last year. Connor Wallace said should have waited until June to cut Galladay. Listen, Joe Schoen doesn't want to kick the can. He said that multiple times, and regardless of which can you kick down the line, it doesn't matter.
Actually, he did cut it. He is going to be cutting him. Most people don't know this, but in the CBA, you are allowed 2 post June 1st cuts.
Correct.
Before June 1st. So he basically is doing a post June 1st cut.
Has that been official? I've heard they were not when they initially announced it. I didn't hear otherwise.
He came out. They said, I can't remember where it was. Someone was telling me about it. He's basically going to designate him for the post June 1st cut. He actually saves. Okay. He will save additional money. So I mean, he is like I said, it's Schoen he's smart enough to work. He's smart enough to work the cap. He understands what's going on. Mm-hmm. There was a couple moves last year cap wise that didn't make a hell of a lot of sense. The Logan Ryan. I mean, you basically cut off your nose to spite your face. You could have pushed, and again, it was protecting the baby. He didn't want to push that cap space into next year for Logan Ryan, so we took he only took $800,000 when he could have took $7 million because he was protecting the cap space for next year. But I mean, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. No, yeah, definitely. One thing, as you mentioned a minute ago about Leonard Williams and not talking about doing any change to his contract, Joe Schoen did confirm that they haven't had any conversations with him about restructuring or extending or anything like that. So I thought that was kind of interesting. He flat out said it. And he made a very valid point. The media brought it up first, but he said the same thing afterwards. The Giants have already said that Leonard Williams is going to be a Giant. Why would he ever take a pay cut to stay a Giant when you've already said publicly he's going to be a Giant? He's not going to, folks. We're going to have to pay him all this money, basically, unless we extend him. And Schoen doesn't seem to want to do that, or he would have started those conversations already. So, one thing I thought was interesting as well, our new linebacker, Bobby Okereke, who we know everybody's had troubles pronouncing the name. There's a prior pronunciation that Bobby even went by when he first played in the NFL for the first year or two of Okereke. And I thought it was interesting that Joe Schoen called him that during that as well. So even Joe Schoen doesn't know what to call him. We're just going to call him Bobby.
Yeah, Bobby sounds good.
Bobby-O. He also mentioned during that it stunk to lose Julian Love, which I thought was kind of interesting because from all accounts, Julian Love came back to them and said, hey, do you want to match this? And they didn't do it. So
they didn't have the cap.
And I was about to say, that's what it boiled down to. Boiled down to money. Again, another guy who should have taken the money when he had the chance. So Brian Daboll, his talk, I think, was a little more Belichickian, I think, for lack of a better term, if that's a word. We're going to put that in Webster's. Yeah, it'll be right up there next to, feng shui and all those other word names to mean nothing. But he talked to the media, and he loves to play with the media, first off. And I love it. He's like sitting there like, we start this end, we start this side. He's all messing with them the entire time. Like, this guy is like, you can tell he's in heaven talking to the media because he just likes messing with them. He's like, I got to do this. I'm going to have some fun with it in the process. What the hell? That's basically what he's doing. So didn't give a lot of info as much as Joe Schoen, I thought, did. Did talk about DJ having consistency for the first time and thinking that's going to be good for his career, which I think is kind of weird because he consistently had Jason Garrett for 2 years as well. That didn't seem to help. Not that Jason Garrett tends to help much of anything.
Jason Garrett doesn't help anything.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not the first time he's had consistency. You can make the claim it's the first time he's had good consistency, but it's not the first time he's had some level of consistency. Like I said, most of it was non-answers. Again, he did mention I know everybody went crazy. Oh my God, he texted OBJ. Who cares? He could have texted him like, here, have a happy New Year this year, or have a good Easter with the family, whatever. I mean, everybody's reading way too much into it, and he loves playing with the media too. So I don't think anything besides that. The biggest takeaway I had from his talk was he said, a reporter asked him, started talking about all the success the Giants had this season, and Daboll interrupted him, didn't want to hear the good praises, and said, and got smoked in the playoffs. I love that. That's my coach right there. Besides the fact that he was also reported he was the first guy at 11:20 having beer with everybody in the morning. He's also my coach for that reason too. But I love it that he is a guy who is sitting there saying, I'm not satisfied. There's a lot of guys I feel like in the NFL, like, yeah, I took this team that was doing crap before me, and we made them a playoff team. And be sitting there in the owner meeting, coming in like a wrestler out of a freaking promo, talking all trash, having intro music, having fireworks in the background. He's not satisfied. That's what you want out of a coach, folks. That's what I want, at least. What do you guys think of that?
No, I love Daboll. I love the fact that he drives up in his blue pickup truck, in his suit, with a big old cigar munching on it, and he's right to the point.
Cigar munching on it. Cigar muncher.
Yeah, he's sitting there. But he's also a down-to-earth guy. He's with the players, like you said, having beer at 11:20 in the morning. But he's
It wasn't a good beer for records. I forget which one they said it was. It wasn't a quality beer. I'll give them that.
It was probably Bud Light. That's what they sell in the stadium anyway.
Yeah, they probably no, it wasn't the stadium. It's at the owners' meeting. So yeah, I forget which one it was. They because this was pardon my take was when I said it. Oh yeah, it was a Coors Light. That's it. He was tapping the Rockies.
But
at that point, I'm sorry if that's what they're serving. I'm bringing my own damn beer. I'm not drinking that piss water.
Bring a couple IPAs, a couple IPAs.
No, not IPAs either. Do I have a man bun? I know I haven't shaved in a little while, but I don't have a beard and a man bun here. Okay, I'm not doing IPAs either. Doing a Yingling or something.
Same level, of course, like. But I like the fact that he was like, hey, like I don't want the praise. I want to do better. We could do better. Just wait and watch. Pretty much what he did without saying it.
Yeah.
I'm going to burst everybody's bubble.
Uh-oh.
Everybody loved Ben McAdoo. 11-5, got smoked in the playoffs.
I did love him.
Everyone, well,
I couldn't take him serious with that porn stash. I'm sorry, I couldn't.
Well, yeah.
Winning cures all ills. I'm going to say 6-3, 3-5-1. And that's what the Giants' record was for two halves of the season. And that 3-5-1 could have easily have been. You could easily have had one win in those last 9 games. There was a lot of luck with the ball, and I like Daboll. I think he's going to be a good coach. But at the end of the day, I've seen too many coaches have success their first season since watching football going back to '76, who then flamed out the next year. And everyone winning cures all ills. But the problem is, once you stop winning, is the love affair for Brian Daboll still going to be there? That's are all these little things that everyone finds cute and all these little things that are funny, that he does, are they going to be now annoying if he starts the season 2-7?
Oh yeah. First off, New York fans.
Oh, yeah. I was going to say, New York market.
We are all very quickly turn around.
You go 0-2. Yeah. I think there's going to be rumbling.
Remember that was the year, the first Eli Super Bowl year when everybody started 0-2 and the defense was doing horrible. Everybody wanted to get rid of everybody. 0-2. Oh no, the whole thing's over. And win a Super Bowl.
Fire Coughlin.
Let's see here. We got Connor Wallace here with a few more. Let's see. Let's call him I Care Okay. Coors Light. Yep, it was a Coors Light. Hey, it changes to Blue Mountains. Do they still do that? I don't even know. I don't drink Coors Light. I liked him till he went greasy, which of course Ben McAdoo. Yeah, like I said, I was never a McAdoo fan. Honestly,
the thing with McAdoo,
I was wrong on Joe Judge. I'll give you that. I was wrong on Joe Judge. I'll say that point blank. That man impressed the hell out of me in that first introductory conference. Like a lot of people, I fell for that press conference. But yeah, I definitely was never a McAdoo guy. When he showed up in that suit that didn't even fit him with that porn stash, I was just like, nope, I can't do it. I can't do it, guys.
And McAdoo also inherited a good team. Daboll did not.
Well,
he didn't really inherit a good team.
He inherited a bought team.
Yeah. I mean, he bought. You know what's funny about the whole story with McAdoo and the suit that doesn't fit is because he didn't know he was going to get the job. But I love it because I've told this story on my channel before because I had friends that worked for the Philadelphia Eagles, and when we signed McAdoo,
friends root for the Eagles.
I know, but I can tell this story because they don't work there anymore.
Okay.
I love this. I loved it because when we signed him, because the rumor was that the Giants and the Eagles were competing for Ben's services, and Andy Reid had he touched him and said he is the next great head coach, and I loved it because I was talking. We signed him, and I called up my friend, and I called him at his office in Philadelphia. And I said to him, you guys suck. Man, we just signed Ben. We stole your coach. And I laughed because he just started laughing. He goes, we were never going to sign him. he's like that. He was never our guy. He goes, we are sitting in the office chuckling that you guys think that we are going to sign him. and he goes, he was never our choice. And I was like, oh, I was like, well,
Well then, go over here.
I was like, well, I'll just shut up and go away.
Yeah. I mean, I think at the time, a move had to be made away from Coughlin because I think it's just time. I think every coach has a shelf life at any place. And that's not to knock Coughlin. Coughlin's a Hall of Fame coach. He's the second best Giants coach I've seen in my lifetime because I will still give Parcells number one. But it was time. But no, not with McAdoo. I just never... You know what it was? It was partially the way he spoke. He didn't come off as a leader to me. You have to be a leader to be a head coach. And that's where Joe Judge overly impressed me. But the problem was he had the speak part down. He didn't have the actual action part down. That was the problem with him. He was like that car salesman that once you bought the car, was like, who are you again?
I mean, Bill Belichick also gave him praises too. So that was something that, hooked me in.
Bill Belichick, I'll say this again. Because I've said that Bill Belichick has praised every single coach of his that's been hired at every single damn place. And they haven't done shit. He said about Matt Patricia. He said this about Josh McDaniels. He said it about Romeo Cornell. He said it about Charlie Weiss. He said it about every single damn coach that's coached under him.
And they all worked out so well.
It was spectacular. That's why they're back in his staff again.
I
Consistent coach.
with Joe Judge, and I always tell this story, is I thought he was garbage from the minute because he spoke too much and he was a special teams coach. He never did anything. For a guy that's never done anything in the league, people say I'm cocky and arrogant, and I 100% am, but at least I've done stuff with my life. Joe Judge has never done anything but be a special teams coach. And I always go back to that second year in training camp where everyone was so impressed with him because he was doing the ball drills. He was rolling in the mud. He was showing that he was at the end of camp showing he was one of the guys, I'm going to go get the ball in the mud. And I watched Dalvin Tomlinson because Dalvin Tomlinson had the hose. And I love it because Joe's going for the ball. He's sliding and Dalvin is squirting Joe Judge. He's not squirting him in the body. He's not squirting in the chest. If you watch it, he is squirting him directly in the face.
Mm-hmm.
If there was ever a passive aggressive move for someone that you truly hate, but you can't say out loud, it was Dalvin Tomlinson squirting Joe Judge in the face with the hose.
And they're all saying out loud now.
And I laugh because I'm like, that just sums up. And I told someone, I said, I'm in a panic mode now. And he's like, why? I said, because of the fact that I think he's already lost the locker room in year two. Just by seeing what was going on in training camp and just seeing that moment in time, that snapshot in time where one of your best players loves you so much that he's laughing as he's shooting you in the face.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on that. So, speaking of special teams, we did promise everybody we'd go over special teams here tonight. So, we got to go over the special teams. And this will obviously take a lot less time than the prior position groups we've done because there's only so many guys that you really want to talk about in special teams. We got to go with, obviously, number one, Graham Gano. No, we're not going to. Graham Gano, who, of course, is a very quick for me, like, yes, this is the right move. Keep this guy as long as he's kicking good. He's a great kicker. He's a clutch kicker. It's nice not to worry about somebody on the field. And you could make the case that he is one of the best players on the team even, just based on how good he is compared to other kickers in the league.
I mean, you're not wrong. He's Mr. Consistent, so.
Yeah. Yeah, he's not the guy who's going to be, the 60-yard field goal down. He's not that guy at this point in his career, but he's still a guy that I'm not worried when he goes out there to kick the ball.
Let's say you're not the guy that you're like, he's going to make it? Should we go do 2-point conversion? Oh, we should have done a 2-point conversion.
Oh, we got Connor Walls came back with the Parcells talk. I got to put that up because I'm a tuna guy. I don't with Parcells anymore. Tom Coughlin went ahead of him because he signed with Cowgirls. I lost it. At least they didn't win Super Bowl with them, or maybe that was Bill's plan all along. Listen, that might have been Bill's plan all along. To go ahead and take Jerry Jones' money and not get them a ring. Who knows? Swing Culture TV says, "Hey Tim, when did you grow a beard?"
Swing Culture TV is always on my channel.
I recognize him from the videos there. So. Like I said, I'm not worried about Gano. He's one of the very few guys in this roster that I'm not worried about, that I'm confident in, that I'm not, sitting there saying, do we need a better guy than this? Like, no, we're good. Yeah. Let's go on to the guy we can do better than. Oh, yes. The Scottish Hammer himself. I was livid when we re-signed this man. Livid. Like, why? This, what? And what I love is the whole thing going around now. Oh, we got this kid from the Jets because he's a gunner. That's what he was missing, was a gunner. Was the gunner what caused him to kick the ball out of the end zone? I'm sorry. Maybe I don't understand something about special teams. Tim, can you maybe enlighten us on how the gunner stops you from kicking the ball into the damn end zone instead of coffin cornering or getting a big hang time so he catches it at the 5 with a fair catch? Can someone please explain this to me?
I'm going to explain this to you.
Please.
There is a little known nuance about the gunner right now. There's something that people do not know about, and this is actually truthful. And I think that once people hear this, they'll understand that everything that the Scottish Hammer's issues was not because of the gunner. I mean, was because of the gunner. and I think that once you figure this out, you will totally understand the nuances of special teams. The gunner's job and role is, and I'm totally bullshitting because it makes no fucking difference.
I'm wondering, where's he going with this? Where's he going?
If you do not know how to directionally punt, you are no use to me. If you can't put the ball inside the 10-yard line, you are no use to me. If you have come up in the big spot and you have this huge leg and you are supposed to put the ball halfway down, a mile down the field, and you punt it 30 yards and shank it off your foot, you are no use to me. I've said it before, he is Matt Dodge. And he makes
Matt Dodge look good.
Matt Dodge, Deshaun Jackson is still sitting there sending Matt Dodge thank you for kicking it into the. I was at that game to kicking it in the middle of the effing field when it's called, and I said it's okay in the league. It's called directional punting. You're allowed to do it. And
here, watch. Here we go. Oh my God! I turned a little bit. I have a directional. Granted, it's Easter. I'm in an office chair, but still.
I mean, I have no clue what they see in him. I have no clue what. I mean, it's.
I want him to work like we're talking about Evan Neal work with Willie Anderson. Like he better work with Jeff Eagles. I know Jeff Eagles is obviously in the Giants building quite often and does a lot of work with the Giants as well. Eagles, if you're listening, first off, we'd love to have you as a guest. The email is 2giantgoofballs@mail.com. Second off, work with this man. I don't know if maybe you need a Scottish translator because he might have a thick accent. I never even heard the man talk. But yeah, it's just. And Connor says, one bad punt, you don't like him. One bad punt per game, and I don't like him, Connor. That's what it is. One bad punt per game. And also, why does this man take half an hour to kick the damn ball away? You put it in your hand, you kick it. You don't look at it and go, is this a football? I think this is a football. Like, this man's having, like, existential crisis every time he looks at the football. Like, what am I doing with my life?
This is not rugby.
Just kick the damn thing. It's the same shape as a rugby ball. It's okay. Like, he's just, like I said, and I'm so looking forward to this offseason. And like the very first move, we're going to re-sign Jamie Gillian. I'm like, God damn freaking. I'm like, this is not starting well. This is not going well. Like, thank God we got Bobby O, so I can go ahead and see some good news that day as well. As Bev White comes in with, he just got his knee operated on. Good. Maybe he doesn't kick the ball as far, so we can like now put him at like the 50-yard line. He'll get the ball down to the 10. Instead of backing in out of the end zone like he does all the time. Coaching needs to fix that slow punt. Maybe no one told him. Listen. If no one told him this year, it's the same coaching staff, Connor. If no one told him last year, they're not going to tell him this year.
Maybe
and I don't feel like that's something you need to tell somebody is saying, hey,
that's the gunner job.
That's the gunner. Is that what the gunner does? Is that what the gunner does?
That's what the gunner's going to do.
See, and here I thought he was supposed to be the guy who just runs blindly down the field to go after the guy. Yeah.
No.
Oh, yeah, no. Chris King TV. I like Gillen. Not enough to spell his name right, though, Chris. See? Oh, gotcha. He says he got a leg. He's got two legs. The problem, he's got two legs.
You just can't kick
And he's got a boot.
Listen, I'm all for the ADA and helping people with disabilities, but I don't think a one-legged punter is going to go very far in the NFL. Call me crazy. Scottish Hammer, he says. Listen, maybe we need to go away from the Scottish Hammer and go get Thor, the Norwegian Hammer, or something like that. I don't know what's going on. Chris Hemsworth would probably be a better punter at this point than this man. Oh my God. I can go on and on about my hate for this punter. And I have never disliked a punter as bad as I dislike this man. And I think part of it is because what people do like about him, I will give him 100%. As Chris said, he's got a leg. The man can kick the ball very far. That he can do. The problem is, it's a lot more nuanced of a position than just kick the ball as far as you can down the field. There's got to be height. There's got to be angle. There's got to be a strategy. It's not just kick the ball as far as you can down the damn field. Swing Culture TV comes with no OBJ. And we got some laugh in it, Chris. And Connor said Thor would cost too much. Listen, eventually he's going to stop doing these Marvel movies. That man's got to be reaching 40. He's been doing it for like 20 years. He's playing Thor, even though he looks the same as the first movie, pretty much.
He's better than the first movie. No homo.
Except he's got a little bit different haircut now, and he's missing an eyeball. But yeah, like I said, I can go on and on. Anybody else want to rant on Gillum? I'm like hogging the mic here because I hate this man so much.
I mean, he's fantastic. If you leave him on our 30-yard line, he'll get it there on the 5-yard line.
Yeah, but the problem is he'll kick the ball so damn low, they'll get back to the 50.
No, you're 100% right.
Hang time. It's not just for basketball. And of course, we got the snapper Casey Kreider, who is also re-signed. I have no problem with that. Let's be honest, people don't talk about Casey Kreider at all.
Which
And
is
that's
a
a
good
good thing. That's a good thing. When you don't talk about the snapper,
The long snap.
yes, the long snapper. I should clarify what snapper we're talking about, because we do talk about other types of snapper here quite often,
Yeah.
whether it's anatomy or fishing. But yeah, we don't talk about the long snapper, and most fans probably couldn't even name him. That's a good thing. He's staying under the radar. He's just doing a simple job and going home. So yeah, I'm good with that position.
You go back to Trey Junkins, who was the long snapper in that fateful play game against the 49ers for the Giants, who came out of retirement after a 19-year career, who no one knew his name. He had that one bad snap, and his entire career is now labeled a bust because of the fact that he had that bad snap in the Giant playoff game against the 49ers.
Well, he's no Zach Diassi. That man played 30 years, I feel like, for the Giants. It felt like that. He just kept on going and going and going. I mean, I guess when your job really is just going on the field and snapping the ball a couple of times a game, you can have a decently long career. Is it just me, or does it seem a little weird that we have a specialty person just to snap the ball like that? Like, maybe I'm oversimplifying this, but it's like, you would think there'd be a center somewhere who can do this and save you a roster spot. I don't know. Call me crazy.
I mean, usually the long snapper's a little longer and thinner than regular center.
He's a longer and snapper.
Yeah.
It just always boggled me. It's like every other position on the special teams. It's like, you don't really have a guy unless you're Joe Judge that just plays special teams. You don't really have a guy who, like, the returner is, he's just a returner. He can't be a receiver. He can't be a running back. Like, it's always been a little weird to me. But let's talk about the returners, though. So, Richie James, we got to talk about him, obviously, and the whole Adoree Jackson thing. So, obviously, I think it's safe to say that even if, and I don't think he's even coming back at this point, but even if Richie James comes back by some weird circumstance, I don't think he's going anywhere near a punt again. I think that's safe to say. And I do think that it's not talked about enough that Jamison Crowder, who I do think will make the roster because he's cheap and he's good experience-wise, I do think he's going to be a potential kick returner for us and punt returner. He's got a lot of experience. It all depends on how healthy he is, obviously, coming off the injury he had last year. Luckily, he wasn't playing for the Giants, so it wasn't an ACL injury. But still, I mean, he still was out for quite a while. So we got to see what kind of condition he's in when he gets back there. Gary Brightwell, obviously, did most of the kickoff returns for us. We talked about the snapper, and obviously we talked about how if you don't hear his name, you did something good. I feel like nobody ever was like, that's a good return by Brightwell. I feel like we did like 2 or 3 during the year that were like, okay. But it wasn't nowhere the amazing move. But again, he didn't mess up either. So I do think if we can get somebody who can actually, do a little more pizzazz. But I feel like the pizzazz at the same point is kind of gone in kickoff returns. Like the NFL clearly doesn't want it because of the concussion issues. I'm waiting for them to move up. We're going to now kick it off from the 20-yard line. Like they're determined not to have kick returns. They want nothing to do with that concussion mess. Like, listen, as long as Will Smith doesn't do the movie, guys, you're good, okay? And if he does, just bring up the slapping Chris Rock thing. You'll be fine.
Keep my movie out your mouth.
Yeah, I do think this is going to be an interesting offseason for us overall, though, as far as some of the special teams guys, because 2 of the names you often hear about, obviously, are, well, the big one's Cutter Coughlin. You hear about him quite often there. But you hear a lot about the backup linebackers always, is be your special teams guys. And guys, what we talk about all offseason, our linebackers sucked. Our linebackers sucked. Our linebackers sucked. I do think the Giants are going to draft like a whole new class of linebackers in this draft. I think they're going to go out and get guys in the late round. We've talked about a couple of mock drafts with Bumper Pool. Bumper Pool. You got to love that name. But, those kind of guys that I think you're going to see a whole new crop of linebackers. I really do. And that's going to change the entire outcome of how the special teams goes as well. So something to keep an eye on that you don't hear talked about much in the offseason. Who's going to play special teams? Who's going to do the tackles? And it could be because if you get 5 tackles, you're like a Pro Bowler. But I mean, it is what it is. Like I said, it's just, I'm okay with the special teams overall and how they were last year, except for Gillum. I want that man gone. I still want to draft a punter. Rob, I was pushing for that. We did our last mock draft. I'm like, let's get Turk in the 7th. Let's get Turk. Let's go for it.
Take him in the first round.
Get anybody. If they don't bring that man competition, I'm going to be so livid it's not even funny. Like, I'm sorry. I just dislike him immensely. I thought I can go on an hour rant about how much I hate the punter, and that's just so weird, I know, but it is what it is.
Better off just going to the Red Bulls game and like, oh, you could kick pretty well. Come here.
Anybody. Just get this man some competition this offseason, and I'll be very happy. Just get him some competition, because I feel like most players will beat him. Like, Cleveland didn't want him. That just tells you. Like, if Cleveland doesn't want somebody, that's probably not the guy for us. Call me crazy. But, yeah. That's what happens, though. Alrighty, guys. So any final thoughts that you guys want to give on our special teams here before I rant again about our punter?
Well, I think we need a new punter. I think that's.
I agree with you, Tim. Or Rob, or whoever you are at this exact moment. Tim, Tom, Rob.
Placeholder.
A placeholder. We're fine. That's what Jamie Gillian could be. He'd be the most expensive placeholder ever.
Special teams are special teams. It's outside of your punter, your placeholder, your long snapper, and your field goal kicker. Everything, it's going to change every year because the bottom half of your roster is your special teams. I mean, that's just what it is. And we had and we talked about the linebackers briefly. they weren't that they were bad special teams players. They're just bad linebackers.
Yep.
They actually played pretty fairly well as for special teams, but unless you're going to be like a Renee Thompson with the Giants, number 21, you're not going to be much of a special teams player. I mean, you're going to have to do more than just do that, because I always harken back to Kadarius Toney when we drafted him. I automatically assumed, like most morons, that he was going to return punts, because of the fact that when he came out of Florida, the nicest thing they could say about his route running was it was unique, which usually not very well. He doesn't do it very well, but
unique sums up Tony very well.
Yeah.
Our special teams coach, his rookie season, even came out and said he's not ready to return punts. And I thought to myself, how much of a numbskull are you that you can't go stand back on the 20 or the 30 and wherever, look up and catch the ball and run straight? I mean, for the fact that they did not trust him enough to return punts. And then, of course, Andy Reid puts him in the Super Bowl and he has a 60-something yard punt return. But the nuances of special teams are just, it's ever changing. And you have to there are certain special teams coaches in this league that have been doing special teams for 30 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interesting because if you follow the league, a guy will start off as a, quality control guy. Then he'll move into a position guy. Then he'll move into a position assistant. Then he'll move into, a position coach, and then he'll go on, so on, so on, so on. But you have so many lifers on special teams. And the reason is it is such an important position, and it does change every single year. But the one consistency is always the special teams coach. The Giants, going back to the 80s, had a
T-Mac
coach for like 25, 30 years. That's because of the fact that the Giants understood, even in the lean years in the 70s, that you needed quality special teams coach, because you're going to be working with a different set of guys every single season.
But wait, I thought the coach never told Gilliam not to turn a little bit when he runs. Huh?
It was the gunner.
Oh, it was the gunner's fault. The gunner's the guy supposed to tell him. Oh my God. Yeah, I mean, we had during the season we had Britton Golden on, and he had nothing but amazing things to say about T-Mac. So he's definitely a big fan of him still. He still thinks very fondly of the guy. So, and he's been with us for enough years that I'm pretty sure he's probably told Gilliam about punting high and turning a little bit when he kicks. Probably, I think. Call me crazy, but I think
It's
that
amazing
conversation's been
head
had.
coaches come in and they always turn over the staff. But if you have a good special teams coach, that is one position coach that is always retained.
Is this his third or fourth head coach? I'm trying to think. He wasn't there with Coffin, I think, right? I think he was the assistant special teams coach then.
He was the assistant special teams
Yeah.
coach.
So yeah, he's his fourth regime, third as the special teams coach. So yeah, he's been around. He's been around for quite a while there. So, alrighty. So, Giant fans, starting now after this episode, we're gonna give you guys a lot more draft content, because I know you guys are keep on asking more about the draft. We had pretty much every night we got a question or two about who we're gonna draft, how we're gonna draft. So we're going to do a little brackets here, almost like a little March Madness style here on some of the players here, position by position. So the next couple episodes, we're going to be talking wide receivers, though I still caution people to say we're probably going to trade up if we want one. Then we're going to go over with you guys some linemen. We're going to go over some corners. We're going to go over all those kind of positions there. We're going to have some guys on also to talk about some of the latter round guys, because I'm a latter round guy. I like the latter rounds of the draft. That's where you make your money. If you're a GM, in the end, anyone can go, I have a top 5 pick. Who's the best 5 players? Let me get one of those. Like, it's not that difficult of a job necessarily when you're at a top 5 position. But a guy who can consistently draft well in the latter rounds, that's the guy who's going to build a winning team. That was the problem we had for how many years as Giant fans. They couldn't do it. So hopefully Joe Schoen can do it. At least hopefully he can just get people that actually not tear their ACL this season. That'd be nice. So we'll see. But like I said, guys, we're going to go ahead and give you that rundown there for you guys. Tim, thank you very much for coming on, man. It's been a blast talking to you.
Appreciate it.
Definitely good getting to know you there a little bit. Watch the show regularly. So definitely a big fan on our end there of your work there. Do me a favor before we get going. Let everybody know where they can find your content.
Well, I wanted to thank you guys for allowing me to come on, because I'm probably one of the most hated Giant YouTubers, which I hold that with distinction, and I admit it, because I am Mr. Negativity. I'm told, only because of the fact that I could do a 10-minute video where I extol the virtues and the promise of a player for 8 minutes, and then speak about what could happen 2 minutes later, for 2 minutes, I'm told, well, you're just negative. you're just a terrible human being. You go outside and kick puppies.
Whoa! Don't kick puppies.
No one likes
man.
a puppy
That's
kicker.
This is how John Wick started. Okay, we're on the fourth one now because of that one puppy. Okay.
But I do want to thank you guys for allowing me to come on. It is nice that Rob doesn't talk a lot.
It's kind of hard with a co-host like Drew.
It gives me more of an opportunity to speak. But those that do not know, you can actually find my channel. You can look it up on online Big Blue Sports LLC. It's listed under New York Giants Straight Talk. Like I said, you'll see the logo. We're also every place that podcasts can be found. And it's like I said, I always enjoyed. We do a lot of live streams. I don't do as many videos as I used to do. I used to do a video a day. Going back to when COVID started, now if I do a video every week, it's a lot. But we're gonna get back into the swing a little bit more. Also, another shameless plug. If you don't know, it's Get Off My Lawn, the Mad Ramblings of a Gen Xer. That's a kind of a political podcast. It's been doing extremely well. We just launched it a couple months ago. It's actually one of the fastest growing podcasts on iTunes. So if you do want to go check that out, it's a lot of fun as well. And you know what, guys? It's 2000. Daboll basically said it best. We lost. We got blown out in the playoffs. 2022 is over. It's 2023. I always harken back to a movie called Can't Hardly Wait, and it's a teen movie, and there's a scene in the movie where the most popular girl is dating the most popular guy in high school, and they break up. And one of her friends looks at her and says, he's the most popular guy in high school. How could you break up with him? And she looks at her and says, well, high school's over. And that's just what it is. 2022 is over. It is now 2023. It's time to sally forward, move on, get ready for the New York Giants, and let's just keep our fingers crossed and kind of go from there.
Yeah, and getting in the playoffs is not enough. It's not enough. But
that's Dallas fans.
We gotta. And my big thing. Here's the weird thing. I'll tell you this before we go. I'm gonna judge this season based on 4 games. The 2 Eagles, the 2 Cowboy games. That's how I'm going to judge this season. Don't get me wrong. If we suck, we go like 4-13. Yeah, obviously that's not as big a deal now. But if we go 9-10 wins and we lose all 4 of those Cowboy Eagles, nothing's changed. Nothing's changed. So
yeah, teams are got to be built to beat their division, and we haven't been able to do that.
Yeah. We haven't been able to do that for the last few coaches in general. I think Tom Coughlin was the last one to actually win against them, and even then, it wasn't exactly the, even then, it wasn't exactly the best at that point. Winning record against some of those guys as well. Though it is nice to know that Eli Manning was able to go ahead and sign the Cowboy Stadium when they first opened up because he won the very first game there. I still enjoy that one. But again, Tim, thank you very much for coming on, man. Feel free to be negative all you want, man. There's way too many positive people that are and obviously you can tell we've talked enough in this episode enough where I'm a little more positive than you are at that point there, but that's not saying much. You are the negative guy. But at the same point, there are so many content creators I feel out there that no matter what they do, I feel like it'd be breaking news, Giants signing a pile of crap. This is the best pile of crap I've seen in my entire life. This was a steal. This pile of crap is going to sack the quarterback so many times. No matter what the Giants do, listen, guys, they make mistakes. The Giants, if you've been following for the last 10 years, made a lot of mistakes. We need to be able to point it out because you can't fix a problem if you don't establish there's a problem. So be negative, Tim. Go for it. Man.
I'm always negative. You know what? I always tell this to everyone. If people don't like me, if people think I'm negative, I don't care. I didn't come up with a channel to be loved. I actually didn't even want to do a channel. Someone that I was supposed to work with was like, hey, he wanted to do a Giant channel, so he was like, help me set it up. So I set it up. I did 1 episode, then he quit.
Oh,
and I was like, well, I guess I'm gonna do this until either something happened. I never thought anyone would ever subscribe to the channel. We're closing on 12,000 subscribers. Never thought anyone would watch it. We're closing over 2 million views. It's been a weird 3 years, and like I keep telling people, I'm gonna keep giving my opinion because to your point, I think a lot of YouTubers go for the likes, the clicks, the bleeps, and the boops, like I always say, and they don't actually tell the truth. And I think it's a disservice because there's a younger generation of fans who don't watch ESPN, they don't watch the NFL Network, they don't read the newspaper, they don't do these things. They get their information from YouTube.
What's newspaper?
Exactly. I remember when there was 4 papers in New York. Now there's basically 2. And it's, it's just they get their information from here. And I think there's a disservice at times that people are overly positive, but that's what gets you likes. That's what gets you views. And at the end of the day, I've said this a million times before. When I do a live stream, I donate my super chats to the Philadelphia Children's Hospital. I give my money away. And I take fans or subscribers to the games with me. We did a couple times where we go into the coaches club, and I've taken at least 3 different sets of subscribers to the games with me. I try to give back as much as possible because I'm a Giant fan and I want to hang out with Giant fans. And at the end of the day, I don't care if I get 1 view or 20,000. I'm just going to say what I feel because it's my opinion, and you can like it, you can disagree with it. And if not, I always tell people when they come onto the live streams and they're like, "Well, I hate you." I'm like, "Well, I'm glad you came."
Listen, but there's something to said for that. We talked about how many of us have all said we hate Skip Bayless.
Yep.
But I guarantee you all 3 of us have watched him on TV at some point.
Definitely.
Oh yeah.
So be the villain, man. Be the villain, dude.
I'm always.
So before we get going, guys, again, thank you very much, everybody who's been listening in, watching live. Of course, we are always live on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, on Twitch, of all things, and of course, my LinkedIn page, since I happen to have a random LinkedIn page with 10,000 people on it. So hope the people that don't even watch football on my LinkedIn page enjoy. And of course, we're on every single audio platform known to man. So if you're watching us and you listen on your car ride to work, your ride home from work, feel free to go ahead and subscribe on one of those, or all of them even, feel free. Or if you're listening afterwards, like, damn it, I missed the live show. Well, don't miss the live show. Go to YouTube, hit the like, hit the subscribe, hit the bell. That bell is a nice little bell. It goes a little ring-a-ling-ling there, and every single time you do it, an angel gets his wings. That's what happens. I don't know. That's what I was told by Jimmy Stewart. And then, of course, also go on to Facebook, hit the like and subscribe there as well, because, that way you get double noticed at that point when we're coming up live. Twitter, unfortunately, doesn't give you much notifications like that, but Facebook and YouTube sure do. As Giants Amongst Men says, Tim is the man. Tim is the man. And of course, guys, as always, before we get started, we have to end this, but we have to give Tim the heads up on what we do in case he hasn't made it to the very end of an episode before, because we do ramble on, as you guys can see. So we always end it with a Go G-Men. So on the count of 3, 1, 2, 3, Go G-Men! Go G-Men!
Thanks for listening to Two Giant Goofballs, a New York Giants podcast. We appreciate your support. If you made it this long, you must have enjoyed it. So I am sure you have followed us on all the social media platforms. Of course, you have subscribed to the show on your favorite app as well and given us a top rating. Right? Right? Right?